in London and New York.
Okay, so this.
Well, there is that. Oh, look who's behind you, Steve.
And I see it. Okay.
Who's that, Don?
Can we now say that?
Yeah. We're just waiting for a fourth or fifth crazy guy to join, and then we will get started. So hang in there, get a cup of coffee, and would you feed the dog?
All right. We're just waiting on Michael Markman, and we'll start our show in a minute.
We have the new model relaxed Steve Gilmore with us today, everyone.
Yeah, right.
Curtis.
Curtis.
This is the part that I can cut out. So I'm
Curtis Blow.
Curtis
All right,
Blow.
forget-
Wow.
You should have been
I
around
wasn't
a
gonna
half
say
an
it
hour
anyway.
ago, Keith.
Curtis Blow. He was hip.
Yeah, I can show you that. You want to see? I filmed a little of my.
Did not.
There's nudity involved.
No. All right. And Frank, your flight was well, let's save that for the show. There's Brent.
Starting the watch party.
Ready. And Brent, I didn't even notice there was black and blue. So like,
All right,
it's
so
dark.
let's just get started, and we'll bring him in live.
This might be. Is this Michael? Hello? No, it's in Seattle, so it's like
Yeah, turn the sound off on it.
mute your phones if you haven't already. Okay, well, maybe we're gonna start.
Let's go.
We'll wait for we'll then bring Michael in when he gets in. Okay, I'm gonna give a count, and we're gonna go in. Let me get Steve on. Okay, let me go in 3, 2, 1, and.
Hi, Steve Gilmore, Gilmore Gang.
No.
What? What? You have a problem?
Oh, he's there.
Oh, he's in a doctor's office. Scrubs.
Oh, we're going to play doctor today.
Who said no? Yeah.
What I like is that when he's trying to figure out if he's on and he's squinting his eyes, he kind of does this thing with his teeth as well.
Okay, well, if you're going to get personal about it.
It's
All right,
a thing.
so Tina, give us a new count. Quiet, please.
Okay. All right. We're going to go in 3, 2, 1, and.
Second chance. Hi, Steve Gilmore. This is the Gilmore Gang. Somebody said no the last time. It is the Gilmore Gang, and I'm Steve Gilmore. And that's it. See ya.
Good show, guys.
Okay.
Let's do it again.
New world record.
In our upper,
Don't say upper.
No.
They don't really have to say.
in our upper left corner, even though nobody else has the same view as I do. Yeah. In my upper left corner, right there is Dennis Pombriant. Welcome, Dennis.
Howdy. It's good to be here.
Likewise. From London, England. Well, he's in London, England. Frank Radis.
Howdy.
It's a muted response.
Yo, what's up?
Oh,
Yeah.
are we woke enough yet? So Brent Leary, how are you doing?
I was doing pretty good until that last woke thing. So,
Yeah, well, see,
Where that came
I
from.
still don't know what it means, which is the saving grace for me, even though I
Let's
see
talk about that.
your lack of respect about me saying it.
Yeah.
So I understand that
Yes.
I'm not doing a good job here.
just don't do the AF part of it, and we'll be all
Oh, okay. Thank you. And that's as friends, right?
right. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. Or ask Frank, you know.
Yeah. Ask me. I'll tell you.
All right. Also, Keith Tier from Palo Alto, California.
Hello, everybody from Palo Alto, California.
And rounding up the rear, pardon the expression, is Michael Markman.
How do you do?
Is that the doctor's office of a proctologist?
No, it's not a proctologist, but it is a doctor's office. I just figured the Republic is sick. We might as well take it to the hospital.
Oh, it's the Zoom background. You fooled me.
I did.
Didn't fool me. Oh, that's weird. Because he's,
Okay,
you know,
so-
he's alien. He's got a little alias.
I got a
going
little,
on, like all of this.
yeah, a little edgies.
Yeah,
Got
but
it.
my eyes are
That's-
so bad that I don't see the alias, and everything looks great to me. So, you know, I'm amazed we're still here. It's what, 6 weeks till the election?
I think it's less, is it?
I think it's
It's
less,
less,
than that,
I think.
actually,
Yeah.
Let's talk about TikTok.
Really?
No,
No.
I just
let's talk about it.
I just posted 2 things on TikTok today. I hardly ever do that.
Well, what's your interest?
Extension of brand.
Uh-oh, he froze for a minute. He's back.
No,
Who
he
did?
didn't.
I'm
Yeah,
back.
I
I
just
didn't freeze. Steve didn't know what I meant by that. And so he was just, what?
extension of brand. It's one of those marketing things, right?
It's a
It
marketing
is. It's a
thing,
marketing
yes.
thing. Yeah.
Okay, so that's why you're interested. But why did you post to the gang channel super underneath?
Why did I post to the gang channel? I didn't.
I mean, what were
posted it to
were
TikTok.
they the same article twice, or were they?
No. You see, you don't post articles on TikTok. You post 15-second or less videos on TikTok. That's what I posted on TikTok.
Oh.
2 different videos. 15
Ah,
seconds
when he
or less.
when he said I posted on TikTok, he did not mean about TikTok. He meant he did. He meant he
You're
did
right,
2 TikToks.
Yes, and as I said it, I meant I posted on TikTok. Otherwise, I would have said I posted about TikTok, and then I would have put it on the Gilmore Gang Telegraph page, but I didn't do that because it wouldn't have been appropriate.
But Frank, you realize that in English, British English, I posted on TikTok is the same sentence as I posted about TikTok.
Yeah, well, I just got back from New York, so I'm still an American right now.
So, what was the content?
One was a cat TikTok. They have a thing called Cats of TikTok. So I had in memory of my kitty who left us a year ago. I had this funny little video of him falling all over himself trying to climb stairs, and I thought that was funny, so I posted that. And I ran across, while going through old videos, I've ran across a picture of sort of a windswept beach as the wind was howling in Gran Canaria in the Canary Islands, and I posted that for no reason other than to just add stuff to my pretty lame TikTok channel, which has only got about 10 or 12 things on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. I just thought, hey, it's time to take advantage of this thing. This
Well, you
TikTok
still
thing.
are allowed to, right?
Well, I guess, but I think I opened up, and I don't know if this is the case, but I think I opened up my TikTok channel here in the UK.
where it's still okay.
Yeah, I don't believe there's any issues with it here. I certainly haven't heard about it, but I can't. I think that's the reason.
So, Keith, can you give us a brief about content discussion of what this TikTok thing is all about?
Well, there's the narrow tactical version, which is it's all about Trump and China, and TikTok has become, like Huawei, the victim of the back and forth between Trump and China, and all of the rumors that there are backdoors in TikTok stealing important information are basically BS. Window dressing to that broader theater. Over the last week, there's been a kind of a tick and a talk over what's going on. On the tick side, Trump said he was going to ban them last Sunday from being downloaded in any app store in the US, which wouldn't stop people already who have the app using it, by the way. But then a judge has stopped that twice now, claiming that Trump doesn't have the power to do that. And so now it's a standstill where TikTok, the TikTok deal with Oracle is kind of in the middle of all this, which is a deal for TikTok's hosting in the US and the data to stay in the US, thus getting rid of the backdoor, rumors, because Oracle would be able to vet the code and be sure there was no backdoors. That's kind of on hold because Trump's saying it doesn't fulfill all of his requirements, which is that ByteDance, the majority shareholder in TikTok, should become a minority. Meanwhile, ByteDance is saying it will become a minority by going public within 12 months on a US stock exchange. So all of this really is shenanigans to the larger narrative, which is Trump and China. And in that larger narrative, Trump seems to be playing the wrong hand, because any long-term view of America and China would suggest America needs to be very, very close to China in order to A, take advantage of the Chinese market, and B, slow down its growing world economic domination. And so playing the hand of being against China seems to be very stupid in any broader long-term point of view.
But there's
I have
another
two-
thread
I
in
have
all
two-
this that, and I don't know how to evaluate it. It's the notion that Trump is merely peeved at the campaign that was waged on TikTok to register for his Tulsa rally.
Yeah, that's probably the catalyst for the whole thing.
Yeah, yeah. That was his correspondence dinner moment with TikTok.
Yeah.
But I think once you include Huawei and what he did there, you do also have to put it into this broader context. It isn't just about TikTok.
Go ahead, Frank.
Well, a couple of things. One, what's Walmart's role in all of this? And two, I mean, the Huawei thing was about 5G, wasn't it? Wasn't that the issue
Right.
with Huawei?
Well, it's about backdoors as well. They could care less about 5G, except they're claiming Huawei's 5G, which, by the way, dominates the world, has backdoors in it that the Chinese government can see through, which is probably not true, but there you go.
And Walmart, what is the Walmart connection?
Walmart is partnering with Oracle and putting crazy amounts of money into this TikTok deal in order that Walmart can have first place in this digital platform for whatever reason. I don't know yet.
So that's kind
of what I was getting at. I didn't understand that. I'm sorry, Steve, to
No,
interrupt.
no,
That's exactly what.
interrupting you. Go ahead.
E-commerce.
That's where I was.
Walmart, broadly speaking, Walmart is doing a very good job of competing with Amazon. And that's new news, by the way. That has only been true for about a year. And they're growing digitally very fast. And they see TikTok as a e-commerce, top of the funnel e-commerce play.
I have another question about all of this. If there is a new owner for TikTok in the US, is there a chance that the code will be forked and that there will be a different version of TikTok in the US?
In fact, there is no new owner. There is no TikTok US other than as a wholly owned subsidiary of TikTok. So Oracle is not buying TikTok US. What Oracle is doing is getting shares in the mother company, whilst getting a contract to host, to take the hosting away from Amazon, which is already weird, right? They currently use Amazon. They're going to be using Oracle. And Microsoft wanted to do the deal so they'd use Azure. But there's no ownership of the company involved here other than partial ownership.
I would predict that if Walmart turns it into or tries to use it as a e-commerce weapon, that it will lose its young audience, or a large percentage of them.
Why is that? What would that one have to do with the other?
Anecdotally, it seems that the young audiences pull away from things that are trying to utilize them to gain a profit for anyone. It seems to me that is, the young audience doesn't want to be used as a way to make money. I think that's pretty well recognized. I don't know, Dennis, what do you think?
Can you give me an example of that? Seeing that in any other platform? I mean, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, no, you know what? I off the top of my head, I can't remember one, but I know I've heard this argument before, and that's why I reach out to the group to see if anyone else has heard that.
So there's a broader thing here, Frank, which as soon as I say it, you're going to be sensitive to it.
Before we go broad, I'd like to.
No.
Were you going to comment on this?
I was just going to say, I think Frank's right.
Yes.
And I don't have off the top of my head a good example of young people doing that kind of thing, except to say that young people do that all the time. They're trendsetters. They make things happen before adult trend spotters see it. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if Frank was spot on.
Well,
Yeah,
I
but
was
to
gonna. I
to
was-
that
I think
extent, it doesn't really depend on Walmart exploiting it. The extent to which TikTok has geezers on it,
Yeah.
it becomes less attractive to young people.
Well, isn't that what happened? Didn't
as there's
Facebook?
an adoption curve that starts with young people and then gradually migrates to older people who want to get hip.
But they're very-
young people are
Michael-
forced off by reasons of the fact that the platform is no longer hip
But
Facebook
Michael,
or woke or whatever it is today.
they're very clever. Like I've looked at my 17-year-old son's TikTok and my wife's TikTok. Their algorithm for personalizing the stream is so good that my wife has no clue my son even exists on it, and vice versa. So the geezers would never show up for the young people, and vice versa.
Yeah,
So-
I think that's an important point in terms of exploitation as well, because it depends on how aggressively, obnoxiously, and how they target in trying to use the platform for commerce.
Well, that's right. That's right.
I think Keith is absolutely right. The key to TikTok's success has been their targeting and their ability to personalize your feed to your interests.
Now, the other thing is marketing is moving towards influencer marketing, which is closer to product placement than e-commerce. It's very subtle. It's actually better than product placement. It's really subtle product placement with young influencers representing their love of various products in content. And so I don't expect a clumsy Walmart, flashing ad, click here to buy something. It's not going to be like that. More and more marketing is blending in with content and doesn't even look like marketing.
Well, yeah. I mean, what you're seeing is what you could see with Walmart is they could begin hosting a lot of influencers who have their own channels right now, either on YouTube or in their video blogs or whatever. The benefit to that talent is that they would be able to get out of the technology business and just focus on what they do.
I don't understand. Get out of the technology business.
Well, they wouldn't have to run their own video blogs and operate private sites and become really smart about stuff. What are you smart about? Are you smart about anything?
But Walmart doesn't have to invest in the platform to do that at all. I mean, the whole deal with influencer marketing is that the marketers contract directly with the influencers through the influencers agencies. So,
Right now,
whether it happens on YouTube or Yahoo or anywhere else or TikTok or Twitter, the influencers have their own economy.
Well, there's a whole new infrastructure. The company Big Commerce that IPO'd a couple of weeks ago is a good example of this. There's a whole new infrastructure that gets rid of the agency in between the maker and the marketer. So the influencers are more and more having access to platforms with stuff in them that carries deals. So Brent will relate to this. I'm on YouTube a lot looking at A10 Mini related stuff and cameras and all that. Now, there's about 50 really awesome YouTubers that talk about this stuff. And of the 50, there's 3 or 4 that are just really subtle and it doesn't feel like marketing. It feels like you're learning something. Like I bought this Stream Deck thing.
Okay, hang on. I want to hear you. You teed up Brent. Let's hear Brent.
Oh, I like the A10 Mini. I like the YouTube channels, but I don't want to talk about TikTok too much. I've talked about it for like the last 3 weeks straight. So
Yeah.
I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to say, Twitch is actually, maybe even more interesting to talk about than TikTok at this point.
What's
When you get an itch and you do the
It's
anyway.
gaming.
Yeah,
No,
it's gaming, which I know nothing about.
Well, it's gaming for now, but it's the path to doing more than gaming is wide open, and I think they don't have the numbers in terms of active daily or active monthly users that TikTok does, but I think they're further along the path of monetizing. Well, Amazon, I think, is further along the path of monetizing this. I think it's about 125 million active monthly users of deep engagement. It's not 15 second videos back to back to back. It's like some dude playing a game for hours at a time and people watching that for hours at a time. It's like there's a guy, well-known dude. His name is Ninja. He's a well-known gamer. Maybe you guys saw this 2 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago. Microsoft, when they were trying to compete with Twitch, when they brought that Mixer streaming gaming platform, so they actually did a contract with this dude because he has like 50 million followers. I think it was on Twitch or something, for like a multi-year deal worth 25 to 30 million dollars. And I'm like, this is somebody that nobody in the mainstream will ever know about. But then get this, I guess, that streaming service never really did take off for Microsoft. Now they think they closed it. Now they're trying to partner with Facebook. So this guy went back to Twitch, and I think he got a deal for like 10 or 15 million dollars on that for an annual, playing and using that channel as his home.
So
Twitch has evolved it started as a gaming platform where people could watch you game, but it's become a general influencer platform.
Absolutely. And
where people used to live stream on YouTube, they now live stream on Twitch, whether or not they're playing a game, and they develop their audiences. And Twitch has a formula for compensating people who develop an audience that in many ways is more generous than the formula that YouTube has. So a lot of influencers have migrated or at least added Twitch to the ways they try and collect and aggregate their audience. They're constantly promoting, I'm going live on Twitch right now. And
Business Insider,
they're well paid for it.
Well, look at what we're doing. Look at what we're doing right now. Steve, explain what we're doing.
Get on the show, actually.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say something and, I can't get in.
Go ahead.
But,
it's your show. Please.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
It's not my show. It's evidently Frank's show.
No, it's our show.
Oh, I feel better. So, Brent.
So, Steve, why aren't we on Twitch right now?
Oh, fuck me.
Oh!
That's a registered trademark, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's kind of being woke.
Every time that's said, I get paid.
Francine Hardaway just made it.
Yeah, I want to say what I'm trying to ask, which is, Brent, isn't this where the record companies come in?
I think they're all starting to come in. There was Business Insider posted, somehow they got their hands on a Twitch presentation deck to potential advertisers. And then I think Amazon, like last week, there was an article that came out that said Amazon is looking at how they can integrate their ad platform into Twitch. So this stuff is coming quicker. I think Amazon originally bought Twitch for $1 billion 6 years ago, and they didn't know what to do with it, or they had an idea that they wanted to do something traditional and it didn't work. Now it seems like they're starting to figure it out. And while everybody's talking about TikTok, I think the real more interesting stuff going on right now, at least, is around what Twitch is doing with signing up at people, these influencers, by aligning their ad platform with Twitch in a way that I think hopefully won't piss off the folks who really don't want to see any ads whatsoever. If that's the problem with all of this, these networks these platforms were created without advertising model at its foundation. Now they're trying to monetize it. So people have gone years and years without having to get all this ads thrown in their face. Now it's going to come, and now we're going to see who's going to do it right and who's going to piss everybody off.
Well, you make a good point, and this kind of goes back around full circle to part of what we said in the beginning. Francine said, by the way, big commerce is the worst of the platforms that are moving into streaming of any kind, and that's the thing that will piss people off. But what won't piss people off?
Wait a minute. Amazon has owned Twitch for years now, and has not pissed people off.
Right. Well, they haven't done much.
They haven't
That's
done anything.
theoretically true, but if you do it
Haven't
right,
done much.
you can get
Yeah.
in there without being
Well,
obnoxious.
that's where I
They
was
were
going
hands
with
off.
this.
Yeah, they were
Yes.
hands
Well,
off.
well, I think there's a way to be hands on and sort of appear hands off, which I think is the holy grail here.
And I think that Amazon has been very successful at that. I think many people aren't even aware that Amazon has anything to do with Twitch.
That's because they've been
Its
hands
own
off
brand.
for quite a while.
Yeah.
Now they're starting to put the paws on. We'll see how that goes.
Well, look, I can tell you that at one point, when I was buying advertising, I looked at gaming platforms as a place to buy advertising in a sort of a non-traditional way. So imagine you're playing a car chase game, and you drive past a billboard for Friends or or for your favorite television show, and it changes every time you play the game. And it could be for a product, or it could be for a television show, or it could be for politics, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a billboard. It could be the name of a store on a street, or, I'm driving a Mustang, whatever it is, without throwing up a big dollar sign on there and saying, click here and you can go buy this Mustang. But our thinking at the time was click that billboard and it'll take you directly to that episode of Friends. Unfortunately, it took you away from the game. So
Right. If you're driving your car past the billboard, you don't want to go into the
Well,
billboard. It's like the
that's
ads on
exactly-
Waze that pop up every time you stop at a red light.
Yeah.
Go here and buy coffee. Go here and buy tires. No. I'm trying to go over there. I'm not going to your place.
But
I have to say though, I've stopped at using Waze, and I've gone, oh, there's a coffee shop over there. I think I'll go. And I did go over there. So it actually worked on me, but I'm actually easily influenced.
I think it's a false signal that Amazon, Twitch, Walmart, TikTok, I think it's a false signal of direction. The real direction is closer to what we're doing right now with the show. We're using Restream. Restream is sending our stream live to Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. It could also be sending to Twitch. That's available to us if you want. And we are content, right? I can tell you my business life is massively better for doing The Gang or for doing That Was the Week, which is my own thing. I don't need to get paid for being on The Gang or on That Was the Week, because just being on it and hopefully not being an idiot, people notice and good things happen. And so it feels to me as if the subtlety of marketing is that it has to be invisible. The more visible it is, the less effective it is.
So what you're saying is I can't be an idiot?
Well,
You want to.
There are no guarantees in life.
See, there you go.
some people are so good at what they do in their job, they can even be an idiot and still get paid. And you're one of those, Frank.
I'm right there with you, buddy.
Frank's an amateur compared to Donald Trump.
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh, is that a
You
segue?
had to go there. You had to.
Is that
do
a
it.
is that a segue?
We had gone 30 minutes without even mentioning his name. That's got to be a record.
That
I
is
was
a
hoping
record.
we could get out without
Being a
mentioning his name,
moderator
but
for
now
this.
that we're in it, we're in it.
Well,
Yeah.
you have to mention
Sorry.
it once. You
I'm
can just-
about to redirect again.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not really.
So if that's a false signal, what's the real signal? I think the real signal is,
Wait a minute. Wait, this is you're continuing your meme.
okay, so I'll shut up.
I'm not
Who's
asking you to
interested in
shut
that?
up. I'm just asking you to, change direction. Don't say in the same lane.
No, I was going to change direction to the future from the present and the past, which is,
Nice try, but what else?
Actually, Francine just corrected me. And what she meant was that Twitch is moving towards streaming everything, which is what Michael was saying, or what Keith was saying. One wonders, I hate to be the contrarian in all of this again, but one
That was
wonders
my
if
job.
that might, yeah, usually it is. But one wonders if by streaming everything, does that water down Twitch?
That could be, that's the dig
I don't
moment.
think
dig
there's something subtle here, which is that Twitch is a platform, but the brand is the individual influencer. You know, people who go to movies, if they, or watch television, if they're in the industry, are very aware of what channel or studio is putting that movie on or making that show. But for a lot of viewers, you know, they want to watch that show. They want to watch The Walking Dead. They're not really interested in the corporate background behind The Walking Dead. They're
Totally
there for the
agree with
show.
that.
And
That's
I think
not
that for a lot of the Twitch influencers, it's the influencer who is the brand, not the platform.
And that is exactly, I think, where we're headed in terms of user experience for capturing and engaging with digital content, and that the user experience doesn't care, like the viewers, the majority of them doesn't care where they're getting it. They don't care if it's coming from AMC, Walking Dead, or if it's coming from NBC, or if it's coming from Bravo. They don't care. What they care about is, it'd be nice to type in or to verbally say, using something like an audio assistant, an individual actor's name, and up comes a list of the shows that actor is in. You click on one of them and it doesn't matter where you got it from. It's really about, like you said, Michael, it's about the content or the influencer, not about where it's coming from.
And that's about quality, Frank. Like the guys I watch about the A10 Mini, the ones I select out of the 50, the two are really, really good at what they know and what they do. So it's really about quality rising to the top through ubiquitous media that's all pervasive. And you end up with millions of micro brands that the mega brands overlay on top of.
Well, and the idea that the influencers are not on just one platform.
Yeah,
they're on many platforms. So it's not about the platform, it's about the influencer.
Correct.
On the other hand, one of the business models that is prevalent today is a subscription streaming service, which depends on aggregating a bunch of programs and creating a brand for the service. So if you happen to be Disney Plus, you want Disney Plus to get the revenue every month.
The chance
that works in the other direction.
But it will if you choose it.
The chance of Disney Plus, Netflix, Peacock, add them all together, if the chance of their audience and the hours spent getting anywhere close to Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube are zero. The dominant time spent on video and interaction on the internet by far is going to be these millions of influencers in the long tail.
You know, I think that's what Quibi wanted to do, but didn't or couldn't. I think that they looked at the short form video space and said, we can do this, but with quality stuff. I guess the problem was that they didn't have enough quality stuff to put on it.
You know, the definition of quality is in the consumer's value system. You know, you can say quality and make your books leather bound, but if people don't value leather bound books, a leather bound book isn't quality.
But it wasn't part of their issue.
You know, the Quibi start was from Hollywood, and they thought, well, you know, if we get A-list actors and writers and producers, then we've got quality stuff. And they didn't really understand the appeal of short form video, which is a whole other set of values and attributes that have nothing to do with the name brand of the actor.
Brent, you're way too polite because you've been trying to speak for about the last 3 minutes. Go for it.
I have a lot of respect for my elders. That's all of you guys. Got to take a shot when you can get it in.
Yeah,
all right,
good shot though.
But I think the Quibi thing is, I think what hurt them really is, wasn't that designed for mobile, and we're all stuck inside and we want to see stuff on big screen. So why am I going to sit around looking for something here when I got all this and I want to be able to watch everything on
You know,
these big
there's a long
platforms.
list
And we're
of things.
looking
There's a
for-
long list of things that did Quibi in, and that was certainly one of them. They
Yeah,
were.
but it did Quibi in for me before I have ever looked at it, which I never have.
Why, you didn't like the name?
No, I just didn't like the idea of I mean, the audience is looking for binge, narratives. They're not looking for
Mhm.
5-minute cliffhangers.
Well, they are looking for both.
Yeah.
They're looking for binge and they're looking for quick.
Well, how's
But
that going for you?
Quibi,
Are you-
I think Brent is absolutely right about Quibi. They said, well, look, there's a market of people who are stuck in lines or in waiting rooms or waiting to get into something or waiting to get out of something. And they have about 2 minutes or 5 minutes of attention. Let's go and try and capture that. And the moment they launched, nobody was going to be stuck in lines because everyone was stuck in their own living room. So
Well, that's an interesting.
the shortness of the episodes no longer became a useful factor.
And this is
The
what
No,
other
I'm
thing
you're
that-
trying-
saying
one other thing that they did was they tried so hard to protect the platform, they made it impossible to share on social media.
Yeah.
They made it impossible to get screen grabs. They made it impossible
Well, they didn't have the
to,
rights.
to send links from one platform to another. I mean, think about how
Well-
many YouTube and Twitch streams get promoted on Twitter or on Facebook. This show
they-
itself is being
they did
promoted
have-
on a variety of platforms, and Quibi cut themselves out from all that. They locked themselves away in a little tower.
They had the rights to a lot of that stuff and did exactly what Michael suggests. And that, to me, was the big mistake that music made by not jumping onto the Napster bandwagon 100 years ago.
It's
Um,
it's the elitist methodology, the belief that we are superior and people will come to us if you.
Yes.
And some of them were like, what was it? Was it Metallica? They're the ones that really were the guys that took that thing up, and they had a huge following. They didn't want to have their stuff distributed for free. They didn't need it.
Yeah.
It's like the folks who nobody knew about. That's where that helped help them when it came to Napster. But are we looking at are we seeing today what is the natural progression to where we went from people publishing, having publishers of books that printed to like what Kindle did, and that kind of cut out the middleman and gave people who knew how to use the platform, put that in their hands, got them to be able to build their brand, digitally and use these platforms. And now we're seeing these guys like on Twitch and on TikTok and on YouTube kind of doing the same thing. You give them the platform, and folks who know how to use that platform and are consistent and religious about it, they can build a brand and a following, and they can live off of that. Whereas they don't need, to go to NBC or, Fox or wherever anymore, because they know how this platform and they know how to use it.
Well,
I think that it's
this week that guy quit Verge and is now doing a Substack newsletter. So he's given up his salary. In return, it's called Platformer, I think. That in a way, it's either a leading indicator or a peak market indicator. I can't decide which, but I think it's a leading indicator that the ability to be an independent content producer with all of the tools across many, many platforms, build an audience that will love you and sometimes pay you, that is only getting better and better and better.
I
It
think
is,
that
but
when-
I think a lot of these models will exist simultaneously and coexist simultaneously. One doesn't replace the other. Television didn't kill radio, but
Yeah.
television changed radio a great
But
deal.
television did kill the radio star.
Yes, it
Yeah.
did.
Video
That's
did
the
not,
Buggles.
like you said, videotape did not kill motion pictures. I think the key to what you just said, Michael, was that they will coexist. That these, and the great thing is that even if they fail, the fact is somebody went out and tried it, and someone else will look at that and say, there's a piece of that I can make work with this over here. I was thinking about this yesterday. And I'll use the Bob Woodward book as an example. So I was listening to it on Audible, And as I was listening to it, I was reminded of the things that I was hearing by the narrator that were already presented by Bob Woodward or the networks on audio tape, the actual interviews that he did with Donald Trump. So I posit that, and as an example of how this might be a way to utilize and other media, is that maybe a combination of listening to an audio book and a Q tone activates your Alexa, which brings up the audio of the interview that he did, and then you go back to the book. And the point is that there are things like that that haven't been done yet that still can be done. Often I'll say to myself, well, you know what, we've got an awful lot of stuff going on here. What can we do that's new? And I'm not surprised every time I turn around, somebody does come up with something new and innovative.
Well, let me ask Dennis, rather than look at the shiny object, which is technology, what about what we're seeing here? Have you seen before, say in 1820?
Electricity.
Well, all I can think of is the Missouri Compromise. You're probably thinking something else.
You stole it right away from me. Go ahead.
There you go. No, I think
I didn't know how to spell it, but
Well, Missouri.
it's got a couple of I's in it. No, I think what Frank was just saying is very true. Markets, and Keith, maybe you have some comment too, but markets sort of take disruptive innovations and then try to figure out how to use them effectively. And I think we're at that point now with the technologies that we're discovering or discussing today. I don't have any definitive, concrete idea about where any of this is going. It's a lot of fun to watch people, pick it up and say, how do I do this?
So let me explain why I was mentioning the record business earlier as far as Twitch was concerned. Because of the pandemic, obviously, there are no live events. So there's this massive hole waiting to be filled by a business that the record industry is, I think, understanding that they can step into. And so if you, regardless of who the people are, it's, I was listening to Tina talk yesterday with Francine Hardaway, and there was a reference to this platform, what is it, audio, what's the name of it? Clubhouse, that Francine's on. And evidently, she spends a lot of her time on this, mostly doing what I do in podcasts, which is, I don't listen to podcasts, but what I do is listen to the music. In this case, she was in some room that plays jazz, and it's comforting. And this is a channel that is not being monetized by the record industry. But I think that they're understanding that once they get behind that firewall of a connection with the users, they can move to the concept of, I don't know what you would call it, post-marketing that you guys have been talking about, where it's not an overt sell of the product, it's an implicit sell of the product. I'm here because I love this music, and it's in the background, and I'm cleaning the house, I'm doing whatever it is that I'm doing. This kind of cross multi-channel kind of living experience that we are now trying to figure out how to do on Zoom. This is going to develop into a huge industry. That's
as long as the artists get paid.
right.
The artists don't get paid unless there's a monetization scheme.
But Brent mentioned Metallica. They've got this notification system that through a project with Salesforce, I believe, they rolled out to a bunch of their fans. And I'm not a big Metallica fan, but in terms of their savvy about their audience and how they monetize what they do, I get these notifications all the time telling me that, here's a video from, 1938 that we did. And, while we're waiting for actual events to reoccur, they own that experience and they share it with their fans. It's an equal transfer of value on both sides.
So if you think of those variables, audience and creator and monetization, and work backwards from the fact there are 4 billion people with smartphones, and ask what size of audience paying what amount is viable for a given piece of content or creator. Like the Verge guy said, 10,000 people paying him $10 a month would make him $1 million a year, which is vastly more than any salary Verge would ever pay him. And 10,000 people for a good journalist probably is not far-fetched. It's probably completely doable. And so the business model that scale opens up, and it really is just about scale, it's smartphones. That's what changed the world. My kid, by the way, going back to music, has a Focusrite recording studio in his bedroom with a Shure SMB7 mic, and is on SoundCloud and on a service that can distribute his music to iTunes, Spotify, and so on, and has a potential audience of 4 billion people. Now, the start of that was being able to do bedroom recording, which was a technology innovation. But then the platform, the internet, and then the audience distribution channels all suddenly exist. It's a different world. It's a very, very different world.
I will say, though, interestingly enough, that we're talking about this. Some years ago, a guy named David Meerman Scott wrote a book called Marketing Lessons from the Grateful Dead. And what he said was that the Grateful Dead may have been the first to really understand social media. So what they did was they allowed you to go to a Grateful Dead concert, and if you wanted to record their music, you could literally plug into their board and go home and share it with people. So it's, and this is, I don't know, this has got to be back in the late 60s when this started. So it's kind of the other side of this coin. On the other hand, we're still talking about one similar thing throughout this whole conversation, and that is reach. It's about reach. And by the way, I have a Focusrite home studio too. It's brilliant. But it's about, it's a great kit. Listen, see, I said,
you getting paid to say that?
If I did, I'd be an influencer. But I'm not.
Well, there are two classes of influencers. You are an influencer. There are the amateur influencers, and then there are those who go pro. So, Frank, you are an influencer. You're just not monetized yet.
No, well, that's a shame. There you go. I got that same one. It's a great piece of equipment. It really is.
Focus.
What is it? What is it? You've said this now 3 times.
So it allows you to take analog inputs and turn them into digital outputs. So you can plug a microphone into it, or you can plug a guitar into it, or you can plug a keyboard into it.
Or a DJ mixer.
Or a DJ mixer. And by the way, it's a great piece of equipment to use in a live mode as well as a recording mode. But at the low end, multi-track recording, unlimited multi-track recording using GarageBand, and any instrument that you plug into it, recording an individual track, and then being able to go back and mix it and lay it down as a stereo mix, or as a in some cases you might want a 5.1 mix. But it makes everybody able to have their own recording studio in their home. Everybody, which, I honestly don't know when the first one of these came out. But something like it had been out maybe 4 or 5 years ago. This is pretty new. They have basically taken recording studio business and taken it home. And the quality of these things, you can have a little teeny Akai keyboard with, like 24 keys and make the sounds of a grand piano, and record them against multiple tracks. And even in GarageBand or Logic, something as simple as that, you have all of the opportunities for these loops You can drag in a great drum loop, or you can drag in a great bass loop, and you can create a piece of music that will absolutely be of high quality. It's pretty amazing.
And tying that back into what you initially started out with, Steve, DJs who make their living going to these big venues and playing in front of thousands of people, well, they couldn't do that when this pandemic hit. So what did they do? They started a Twitch channel. They bought all this equipment, and they started doing all these, even me, live stream sets of DJing. And the guy who made that even really popular, this guy DJ Nice, is it D Nice? Yeah, D Nice. And Salesforce actually had him on one of their live events because he started doing this weekly live stream thing. He called it the coronavirus concerts or something like that. And at one point, he had over 130,000 people streaming his DJ thing. So this stuff, just like Frank said, you can buy this stuff, and it's like, I think that was like $100 and some odd bucks. It wasn't a lot of money, but it allows you to do so many things that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars a couple of years ago, and everybody can do it now. So,
All right, so I need to set Brent's exit up, since he's about to jump to his one of his 10,000 other shows on his Playas network or something like it. And so I want to say,
Is that Playas with a Z?
Yeah.
apps AZ, not AF, AZ.
and I want to just call out for the attention of the audience that Brent and Paul Greenberg are doing a really interesting, you want to just give it 30 seconds and tell us what you're going to be doing on October 8th, please?
Yeah, sure. So we are doing what we're calling the CRM Players Executive Roundtable, the inaugural one. We hope to do once every quarter or so, but it's something that we wouldn't do if we didn't have these platforms, because we're able to bring, representatives from the top 5 CRM companies by market share. So that's, Salesforce and Microsoft and Oracle and SAP. And I don't know if I'm missing somebody. I think I said Microsoft. So we're able to bring senior level executives together for, I think we're doing 75 minutes of just talking about the state of the industry, and being able to bring such high caliber people together and get their time. Usually you would have to go to create a face-to-face venue and, rent out some big space and, have all this fancy, equipment. But we're able to basically use StreamYard and, our internet connections and bring these folks together. And on top of that, we're also going to have an after show where we're bringing together thought leaders and industry analysts, one of them being right there with the cat. Or is it the cat with the anyway?
Yeah.
So
he talks to me. He dictates. I just type.
So we're kind of trying to replicate what you see on cable TV. You see the debate, and then you see the talking heads afterwards going over everything, and then you shuffle in, one panel for the next panel. We're actually going to try to do that, and it's all because of these platforms making it possible. We'll see if it actually works, but that's the thought.
Good
All
luck.
right.
That sounds great.
And the other thing, Brent, have you changed your mind about who's going to win?
Not yet. Sorry,
Okay.
guys.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you next Friday. And I want to continue the conversation with the question, we're 5 days away from the first debate.
It's 4 days.
Armageddon. All right,
Yeah,
guys. See ya.
That was last
See you,
week.
Brent.
Thanks,
Have a
Brent.
good weekend.
So does anybody want to weigh in on where are we? Are we just treading water, waiting for this thing to happen?
Well, Trump's certainly not treading water. He wants to fill that Supreme Court seat awfully quickly, and
he's
that's
going to. I mean, who can
Yeah.
stop him? Nobody can stop that.
No, nobody, and that seems to be the dominant thing on the in the news cycle right now. Of course, if you saw him at the Ruth Bader Ginsburg's lying in state, or I think it was before that, and he was booed off the steps of the Supreme Court, which I thought was interesting. But I think you're right. I think we're kind of treading water. Yeah, I think we're kind of treading water until the debate. I think that's, otherwise wouldn't Biden be out there trying to do something? I don't think so.
Michael?
Biden is preparing for the debate. Trump doesn't prepare, so he's got a lot of time.
Yeah.
Michael, are we treading water?
We're treading water. I mean, it's as far as we can tell, the game is over. It's locked. There's probably the smallest number of undecided voters that there's ever been. We will go through the debates, and we'll be treading water at the debate, and we'll be treading water after the debate. The only question left is who gets to vote and how many votes get counted.
Dennis?
I think Michael's right. We are treading water, and it's very necessary. I was thinking today when I was walking the dog of a metaphor, and it goes like this. In 2016, Donald Trump stole second base. And there are a lot of ways to steal second base. Basically, I mean, you can have a pitcher error, a catcher error, second baseman could be late to the bag, shortstop could be late to the bag. Somebody steals second base. In 2020, Donald Trump is trying to steal home. It's the bottom of the ninth inning. The score is tied. There are 2 outs. The count is 3-2. Everybody in the stadium knows that the runner at third is going to try to steal home. The only way he is successful, the only way you succeed at stealing home is if you induce an error by the defense. Either the pitcher throws wild, the catcher loses the ball, can't get up the line and put a tag on. A lot of things can go wrong. And that's what Trump is depending on. Trump is depending on the defense to do something stupid. Trump would like nothing better than to see a riot in some city governed by a Democrat so he could send in the troops and probably at the same time steal a couple of ballot boxes. We are the defense, or the Democrats are playing a brand of defense. They still have to get out and campaign. They still have to talk to the public. There are a lot of things they have to do. The one thing that they have to avoid is letting Trump steal home.
Keith?
Well, Biden better not give away a penalty and let the opposing team have a free shot on goal.
What does that mean?
Exactly.
That's not baseball.
That was my subtle joke.
That's a different sport, Steve. Not one that you Americans are very familiar with.
Which one?
Sticky wicket.
That's even a different one.
Actually, if you ever watched ice hockey, you would have roughly got what I was saying. But
Well, there you go.
no, I think I haven't changed my mind. It's a Biden landslide, both on the college and in the popular vote. Popular vote more than 5%. Electoral college way over half the states. I'm amazed that Trump is going to win any state, but it does look as if he has a shot at Texas and 3 or 4 others for sure. But I can't believe Americans in their majority in any state will vote for Trump. It's shocking to me that could and will happen. What kind of person do you have to be to vote for Trump? And in what state are there a majority of those people? It's bizarre that could be true.
Have you seen any of Donnie?
People, you have to understand that this is the result of 40 years of not teaching civic virtues, cutting the school budgets. Actually, 40 years ago, we used to teach history and geography, and they cut geography out, called it social studies, but nobody knows. Very few people know that Turin is the automotive capital of Italy. They don't do that anymore. And so what you have is a dumbed down electorate. And I think you're right. All things equal, people would detest Trump, but a lot of people don't know any better.
Yeah, I was just saying, there's this reporter who CNN has named Donnie O'Sullivan, who's been going around to Trump events and showing videos. This is the most recent one showing. I don't know if you saw this. There was a doctored video of a reporter interviewing Biden on television, and Biden was asleep, which was clearly, clearly in that it had finally Facebook caught up with it and notated that it was a doctored video, but it stayed up. Point is that he went out and showed this video to all these Trump supporters, and it was fascinating to hear these people who, even seeing on the bottom of this Facebook notification that it was a doctored video, even seeing that, still believed it was real, and continued to espouse all of the reasons why they want to continue to support Trump.
And I'm sure those people were not Puritans, as we discussed last week.
Yeah, they weren't.
Michael?
We do
There's
have
a lot of them.
a siloed information bubble that that these people that we can't understand why they would support Trump live in. They don't have the same information that we do. They don't trust the information that we trust. They trust different information, and they believe different information.
No, but I believe that, Michael, and I'm quite sympathetic to them as well. I just can't believe there's a majority of them in any state.
I don't think there is a majority of them, but there may be in some states.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that the basic calculation right now is in the Electoral College? There's a pretty wide consensus that nationally Biden has a 10-point lead. At this late in the campaign, it's unlikely that there's going to be some October surprise. There's already been a September surprise, which was the death of RBG. So that's not going to shift very much over the next few weeks. And my bet is it won't be shifted that much, if at all, in the negative direction for Trump by the debates. The question then is it the Electoral College, or is this over?
I think it's over.
Oh, I don't. I think if you look at
I agree. I agree with Keith on that. I think that it is over. And Trump is doing his best to create a cloud in which it isn't over. And every once in a while, this week is another example. People get into a big flurry about the cloud that Trump puts out, but then you think about it for another day, and nope, he's still losing. He's been losing. He's still losing. He'll be losing next week, and he'll be losing all the way to the polls.
So, Dennis, is it over?
No. I think if you look at Trump's body language, he's admitting it's over. He's admitting the legitimate election is over, and he's also signaling that he's going to try to. He's putting his ducks in order so that he can try to steal the election. I think he will fail because there are too many variables, and it goes back to my metaphor of trying to steal home. He cannot control all the variables that would be required to steal the election.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's more than body language. It's overt language. That the Democrats can't win unless they fix the vote. But I thought it was very interesting that so many Republicans came out in the last couple of days and kind of debunked that. I think it's also interesting. A lot of people thought that an October surprise might have been the investigation into Obama, which apparently has already been as well debunked. There's now discussion, about he wants to fill that Supreme Court seat so that if there is some kind of a discrepancy in the voting that he can point at that ends up in the Supreme Court, the conservative justices vote in his favor. Doesn't seem like that's a thing that's going to happen. But I am encouraged by two things this week. One is the continued and ramped up discussion of the elimination eventually of the Electoral College. I think there's only a handful of states that need to approve this. And the other thing is term limits for the Supreme Court, which is also being discussed.
I don't want to. I don't like the phrase term limits. I think the phrase should be terms.
I would like to have a whole
term
show
limits
that-
is applied to the Senate and Congress,
Yeah.
where you have a 6-year term and people want to limit them to no more than 2 6-year terms. They're not limiting. They're not limiting the terms of the Supreme
Yeah.
Court. They're
So a
imposing
term,
them.
I think that's fine. I buy that. But I think that those are two encouraging conversations.
Dennis, I couldn't hear what you said, Dennis.
I would like to have a show just on the Supreme Court. I'm writing an article right now centered on the good behavior clause of Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution that gives judges and justices basically lifetime tenure on good behavior and what is good behavior and what is bad behavior. And I think what we have not seen in almost 250 years of American history is either of the branches, the legislative or the executive branch, actually making an effort to apply checks and balances to the Supreme Court. The way the legislature provides checks and balances to the executive, et cetera. And I think there are certain checks and balances that are implied in the Constitution that can be used, and that as nice and appealing as term limits is, or packing the courts, adding a couple of more justices, I don't think we have to go there. I think we need to focus down on the good behavior clause and ask the fundamental question: is a ruling constitutional or anti-constitutional, which is a different kettle of fish from asking the court to decide on the constitutionality of a matter brought before it. So
who would have the authority to determine that, Dennis?
The legislature.
Okay.
Right. And that leads to the question, is it going to change, allowing the Senate to be democratically led, that would allow any kind of legislation to actually be passed?
Yes, I have an article about that too.
I suspect the Democrats are going to turn the Senate, but I'm a bit of a conservative when it comes to the balance of power and the role of the legislature vis-a-vis the judiciary. I think the right thing for the legislature to do is to change the Constitution in order to prevent such a decision having any merit. But I don't think they can judge a decision. I don't think you can put the legislature above the judiciary.
Oh, absolutely. I totally disagree. The legislature is the Article 1 branch of government. It was always intended to be the predominant.
But not in the judicial. But it's not meant to circumvent the judicial role.
Now,
You have to remember that the role of the Supreme Court.
The remedy is legislation, not second guessing the court's decision.
Michael?
Disagree. I'm not talking about
the role of the Supreme Court that we have today was not in any way explicit in the Constitution. It evolved after a decision called Marbury versus Madison. So the Supreme Court assumed a role that was not specifically given to it. And everyone has acquiesced in that role.
One of the most interesting things about the coverage of Ruth Bader Ginsburg's career was the dissent that she had related to, I forget the woman's name, but her basic...
Ledbetter?
Yes, Huddie Ledbetter. Or is that the blues ornithologist?
Lily Ledbetter.
Thank you. And her implicit, or even perhaps stated in her dissent, was this needs to go to Congress to be able to write a law that will solve this problem. And in fact, it did, and was signed by Obama.
That's okay. That's the
So that's what we're
legislation.
talking about. That's what we're talking about.
There
You
are a
can't do
number
that.
of cases
No,
like
no,
that.
but
The-
that's the legislature playing the role of making legislation, and that's exactly what it should do. And it is the top of the tree. I agree with Dennis.
Yes,
Now,
and
Let me give you a for instance. Citizens United is a decision that still 10 years later still is controversial because it basically gave citizenship to corporations, and it gave corporations or anyone with a lot of money the ability to drastically influence an election through dark money, political action committees, whatever. Some scholars have referred to that as doing away with the basic American principle of one person, one vote. Now, it was a constitutional decision on some level, but it is, in a lot of people's view, an anti-constitutional ruling because it violated that basic precept of the Constitution. My advocacy is about enabling the legislature to examine those kinds of things, and that's not the only recent ruling that you could apply anti-constitutional logic to.
but an independent judiciary is a very important leg of a democracy, and if you would have to ask the question, if the legislature was second guessing every decision, why even have a judiciary?
Well, are you aware that you can impeach and remove a justice or a judge from office?
No, I absolutely do know that, but I also know the judiciary is meant to be an independent branch of government, not a dependent branch.
So is the executive, so is the legislature.
Yeah.
The point is that they are duty bound under the Constitution to exert checks and balances. And all I'm saying is that we're not exerting checks and balances on the Supreme Court, primarily because for centuries, the court has been above reproach. It has been scrupulously neutral in a lot of political arenas.
But then you get across the line, Dennis, into, if I don't get the judges I want, I'm not going to have a judiciary. I'm going to circumvent it. And that's not democracy.
You know what? I'm not sure how you do that. And I think that's a problem that you face when it comes up.
There was a time when the filibuster applied to judges, where it was necessary to have some agreement on both sides before a judge could be appointed. Once you eliminate the filibuster on judges, it means that whoever has a majority in the Senate can appoint the most extreme judges that that are presented to them, and there's no way of preventing that. There's been an evolution or a devolution of what our courts are, based on a number of changes that have taken place over the years, and that was one of the key ones.
Read my article on the Senate.
Then you get into Plato's Republic, which is this belief that the people are stupid. Because if the people end up voting for a legislature that is overweighted to an extreme point of view, which then ends up appointing judges which reflect their point of view, ultimately the people have that right. The people can do that. And Plato said, well, you can't really trust the people, so we're going to have philosopher kings running a republic because they're smarter than everyone else. And that's where you end up. That's a path to kind of benign dictatorship.
I have to disagree with that on one point. It's not that you can't trust the public. The theory of big numbers says it doesn't matter. What does matter is if you put together structures that, for example, as in the United States Senate, favor minority rule. That's the real problem we have now. Not that people are stupid or not that people have varying opinions. It's a question of how we set up the rules, whether or not there are adequate guardrails. And right now,
so that brings up something that you mentioned earlier. In the Constitution, it really isn't enshrined that we have one person, one vote, because depending on what state you live in, you have more votes than or fewer votes. If you live in Wyoming, you get 2 senators. If you live in California, you also get 2 senators. That gives the people in Wyoming more votes than the people in California.
They don't get more votes. They get exactly the same votes distributed differently.
No,
You're
they-
right.
they-
The
their-
but we know
their
what-
vote gets-
for
their
a
vote
much
gets
smaller
amplified.
populace.
It's true
Yeah.
they only have
Yeah.
one vote, but the vote gets amplified by the fact that they get 2 senators.
See my
Whereas
article.
the
I
vote of
would
everyone
give- I would
living
give
in
6 senators
California
to California.
gets
Maybe
One at a
diluted.
time, one at a time, please.
See my
You have
article.
40 million
I-
people represented by 2 people, and you have 500,000 people represented by 2 people. Those votes aren't equal.
Yeah, that's where proportional representation as a set ideology comes from trying to solve that problem. Proportional representation is where there are no districts, there are no geographies, there are no rules at that level. It's the popular vote, which then gets allocated to geographies when properly apportioned, given all of the variables, which includes population size.
Yeah, but you have to understand that the Senate in the Constitutional Convention, the Senate was set up to do exactly what it does, so that smaller states with lower populations would not be overwhelmed. It gives them a house of the legislature where they can be equal. So Delaware in the Senate can be equal to California. In the House, California has what, 54 representatives? Delaware has considerably fewer. And
Yes,
it is the fact that you have to send a bill through both houses and get approval that sort of makes the thing work. It made the thing work at the Constitutional Convention. It is time to revisit that, because I agree with you. Wyoming shouldn't have as much influence as California.
Okay, it's time to land the plane.
It didn't work with the impeachment, did it?
Well,
I guess you could argue that it exactly did work with the impeachment.
Well, ultimately, that's because
the question is how many small states versus large states were there at the time that the Constitution was written?
There were 13
versus today?
states. There were 13 states. New York and Virginia were the big boys. The first, I think, 6 presidents, of the first 6 presidents, 5 came from Virginia, 1 came from Massachusetts. Massachusetts was then a pretty big state, but Delaware was always tiny. Maryland was always tiny.
Delaware was always tiny. Rhode Island was always tiny, but
And
you had Virginia, you had New York, you had Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts were the 4 large states.
But don't forget, you had South Carolina, you had North Carolina, you had Georgia, where, for example, there were 4 million slaves in South Carolina, and there were far fewer white people. And in order to give them, the white people in the South, a chance at equalizing representation, they had to count every Black person as 3/5 of a human being.
So this is a good reason for teaching this stuff in school these days.
And to me, the one thing that is true is the people are sovereign, and so what Dennis said about education and awareness and engagement with your self-interest is the key to everything. Because if you don't have that, the people can end up electing people who don't represent their interests, and if they do, they kind of get what they deserve. So ultimately, the people are sovereign above legislature, judiciary, and executive branch. And 4 weeks from now, they have a chance to be sovereign again.
Correct.
Yep.
I want to thank our producer and director, Tina Chase.
Director.
All right, Bobby.
Oh.
Yes.
Hey, director.
I want to thank Brent Leary for his brief appearance. I want to thank Dennis Pombriant for his lengthy appearance. I want to thank Keith Cheer for pretty much keeping within the guardrails of Plato's retreat. I mean, come on.
Republic.
Plato's
Republic.
retreat. Yeah.
Public.
Oh, let's
Plato's
remember that.
That's a
Plato's Republic, not retreat.
Yeah, I know.
Plato's. Yeah, but I know what Steve meant.
I was talking to the cheap seats with Frank there.
Cheap seats.
And Michael Markman, thank you so much, sir. And Frank, I love you. I'm
Always a
glad
pleasure,
to see,
Dave.
just wind this up with a brief. How does it feel to be back in your home country?
Interestingly enough, there's a spike in COVID here right now, and there's a lot of questions about what that's going to mean to London in particular in terms of lockdown or a re-lockdown. They instituted some rules that actually go into effect tomorrow, I think.
Right.
And then I guess we'll have to wait and see whether or not this thing really takes off again, and that's what everyone's worried about. I want to add one final thing, if I might, and I found this interesting. Thomas Friedman, who is a writer at the New York Times, on Anderson Cooper's show, I think this was last night, said, and I quote, that America was on the brink of a potential second civil war. I found that to be interesting and scary, and coming from Thomas Friedman, I'm not sure how to make it, but or how to take it, but it was just worth throwing out there.
That's a great ending.
Well, I don't buy it. I think
No, Steve, that's a great ending.
That's a great ending too. Yeah.
I heard
say that from London.
So let me say that I think that the worrying about a second civil war is like, if there's going to be a second civil war, we're already in it. That's number
Good.
one. Number two, all the noise about Trump disrupting the outcome of the election. I think for the same reasons that Keith was talking about, that the people will out, if you will. Trump is not going to be successful at doing that. As Dennis said, there are too many moving parts.
In the history of civil wars, you have to have two militaries. And I struggle to see where the second military, unless it's all these crazy right wingers with guns.
Militias.
All these
Yeah,
Second Amendment people.
Yeah.
Put the militias
I
together.
don't think-
There was an interesting thing though. Wasn't there an issue with ballots? I think it was in Pennsylvania, that some ballots had been found in a trash can, and when the AG in the state opened them up, they were all Trump ballots.
They were mostly
Something
Trump
like that.
ballots.
Mostly Trump ballots.
Yeah.
Wait,
Well, that
Is
sounds like
that
a setup
real,
to
or
me.
Is that a story Trump is telling?
I don't know.
But look, that is 9 ballots out of how many million?
Yeah, it was a few ballots,
And
but
if the ballots were sealed, who would have known that they were Trump ballots?
and then why
The
open
whole
them?
story makes no sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, and that's part of what we are here for.
Thanks
Yeah.
to everybody who showed up, and especially those who didn't. We'll see
You
you
know
again
who you
next
are.
time. Hopefully.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. I'm gonna unstream us.